Hi, I'm Heidi. This is Creating Exploring, and this session is all about collage. I'm really excited about collage. I'm excited about everything actually, but what's so cool about collage is, as I've said multiple times in all of the other sessions, there are no mistakes. What is collage? You know, collage for some people sounds like a very fancy word, but in other terms, basically, collage is taking a bunch of stuff and sticking it somewhere and creating a composition. Does that make sense? Now, are there any rules? Maybe. You know, it could be a textile collage, or it could be a found object collage, or it could be mixed media collage. There are so many ways that you can go about it, and it has to do with what's personal for you. I happen to do collage when I'm traveling. And the reason why I do that is I take everything from my trip, little scraps and papers and little maps and things like that, and I try to put it and condense it all into one composition so that I have that trip all on one piece of paper. And I did that with my students when I was traveling. We went to France and I was traveling. I did that when we went to the Grand Canyon, and it's a great way when we're on the bus traveling from place to place that I'll have, you know, kids can rip it. We couldn't bring scissors on the plane really, but I have glue sticks and I have markers, and the kids just make kind of like a scrapbook, but in a more creative way. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you a variety of materials, a lot of different ways to explore with materials, what materials I use. And also at the end, I'll have two different types of compositions. One will be very abstract, and the other one will be, I'll pretend that I'm on my trip to France or something, and I'm going to take a bunch of my scraps and put together a really neat piece. Okay? So I guess the big word that I have for you is to make sure that you try. You know, this is a really cool thing because you can collect a bunch of stuff and then just glue it down on a piece of paper. If you don't like it, you know, whatever. But you'll find that you might find a particular spot to place something, or you might find that this goes better on a certain background, or, you know, you've been saving this one sticker for something and this is the greatest opportunity. And then you end up framing it and hanging it up. What a great memento. And it could be just something personal, like a piece of art. I always go back to vacation because that's what I've always done. You know, how cool is it to take some of the sand from the beach or the lake that you were at and then putting it on the composition so you have that as part of your piece. I don't know if you remember, but when we were talking about watercolors, I was saying, you know, when I go on vacation, I bring my watercolors and my gouache or whatever, and I actually use the water from wherever I am. So if it's in the ocean, I'm using that salt water to put my composition together. So that makes the piece even better. How cool is that? There's no mistakes. If you make a goof, you know what's nice about this is you can take it off. And then I want you to have that aha moment, like this works, or oh, I have this in the basement and I want to use this, so maybe this is the perfect opportunity. You might have a celebration coming up, which is a really cool thing to think about. Maybe there's something, a birthday, and you want to put together a card that's a little bit more personal. This is a collage. You can take a bunch of different pieces. Maybe you print out some photos and you put some words on there. How awesome is that? So we're going to make sure that you make this for you and you have that aha moment. So we talked a little bit about collage, but some people, when we talk about collage, they might not recognize it somewhere. So a mosaic, is a mosaic a collage? Kinda. You know, a mosaic is made up of bits and pieces of pottery or glass or shards that's plastered down onto a surface, and it's very much like a collage. It's kind of combined all together, and it works in that way. So when you think about found art, there's this great artist, Dennison, I think is his last name, but he does these beautiful pieces that are made up of all this found plastic and art, and Tom Dennison, I think his name is, and it's a painting, but it's it's a sculpture, but it's also a collage because it's made up of all these really cool things that he found. You know, like little toy plastic pieces, and then there's Tide bottle pieces. There's all these different things that all come together to make something that you have no idea what this is until you step back and you recognize, wow, this is awesome. So the same thing could happen for your collage. You could have a bunch of different things. Let me talk about materials for a minute, because when you're doing this, it might just be a bunch of stuff that you've been collecting, or it might be something that you have a little basket, you've been saving things. So I would just want to go through some of the things that you might want to have before you start. First thing is the cutting tools. I like a good pair of small scissors, not big scissors, but a nice sharp pair of scissors. I have an even teenier pair of scissors, but I didn't bring them. So these are just like a school type scissors that has a nice point onto it. They work small because I want to move around into certain areas. So that's a certain thing. The other thing that I like to work with are X-Acto knives. And X-Acto knives are exactly that. It's a knife. It's like a scalpel. And the way that X-Acto knives work is that they rotate the bottom portion that's right there, and then the blade will slide into it. There's like a crisscross at the top, and you slide that in, and then you tighten the blade. So you have this very sharp, it's like a scalpel piece, but it cuts beautifully. I always have been teaching, graphic design for quite some time, and art with kids. This is dangerous. It's little kids, you don't want to have them doing it. I would give them the pair of scissors or even ripping. But with the X-Acto knife, there are a couple safety things that I wouldn't do with my thumb. It's not from the X-Acto knife. But there's a couple things to be really careful with. Number one, when you're using an X-Acto knife, you want to make sure you're aware where it is. You don't have your face close to it because the tips tend to pop off. You also want to make sure if you're using a straight edge, that your fingers are not on the straight edge, but behind the straight edge while you're cutting. And when I'm cutting with the surface, my fingers are behind and I pull lightly. If you press really hard with an X-Acto knife, you're going to go off. You want to let the blade do the work for you. All right, so maybe today I'll show you a couple pieces with that. There are many different types of X-Acto knives. They come with a little fancy schmancy cover. They are terrific to work with, and they sell extra blades because I go through blades nonstop. I go through blades, I don't have it with me, but I have, like, say, a soda can that I put all my bad blades into, and I collect them all up. So here's one big, huge safety bit of advice. Do not throw blades into the trash can, okay? Because somebody might pick up that plastic bag and grab it, and the knife will be sticking through. So be really careful. Another thing I do sometimes is I tape the blades when I'm done with it so that it's taped up so that none of the exposed blade is there. There's also some really cool Fiskars, F-I-S-K-A-R-S tools. These are very similar to X-Acto. These are very safety, really good safety type things. And this is a rotary piece, so I can cut multiple pieces of paper, but I can also cut at an angle, or I can cut in a circle or cut in a surface. The blades are replaceable. And these work with fabric, these work with plastic, these work with all different types of materials. I also have, and I don't work for Fiskars, but I think this is fun to have. This is a real inexpensive paper cutter. I don't know how much, I remember how much I paid for this, but what's so nice about a paper cutter is that I don't have to measure too much. I can take this and I can pull the extender out, so I can go all the way out to 11 inches. And the way that it works is this piece lifts up, I put my piece down, and the blade goes up and down when I cut the paper. So I'll demonstrate that a little bit when I start to talk about blades and cutting. So the cutting tools that I just went through, X-Acto knives, scissors, a rotary blade, and I also have just a simple basic paper cutter, which works out really nicely. All right, so we talked about that. Now let's talk about glue. So you can go into the craft stores now, and there are gazillion, bajillion, types of glue. There's so many types of glue that are out there. There's some just, like super hardening, and some in glitter, and all these different types of glues. My standby really is Elmer's. I happen to like Elmer's Glue All. It works really well. It dries clear. It holds, it bonds. If I want something that's a little stronger, maybe with rocks, or if I'm going to be using seashells, they make a stronger bond, which is fine. A white glue works really nicely. So when you're using glue, when you're looking for something to start with, the other type of things that people like to use quite a bit are the tacky glues by Aline. And I think Michael's has its own brand of it. So there you'll look for, it'll say Michael's Tacky or something. But these are a little bit thicker. It says that it's premium quality. It's thicker so the objects stick, like a little bit faster, and they work really well. It works great with cloth. We also have the common glue stick. So you want to look at glue sticks before you buy them. So this is one that's permanent. All right. So they make glue sticks that you can put it down and then pick it up and reposition something. Those are really fun to use, especially if you're not sure where you want to put it. But the permanent glue stick, it will stay and it'll keep it there. You can move it if it's still wet, but I would be careful because this will bond for quite some time. For magazines and for crafting, they sell these really cool things. These, I can't even read it with my glasses, but these are like tape runners. And the tape runners, if I explain, it's like using tape. If you take tape and you're gonna run it and it's gonna leave a sticky surface, and that's when you put it down. So tape runners tend to work really well. There are permanent and there are repositionables. Make sure you look at what you're looking at. These can be expensive. The cartridges can be replaceable. I know that I can take it apart and open it up and put another cartridge in there. Elmer's glue, it's the best. You can always stick with the Elmer's glue. So we've got the Elmer's glue. There are things, a lot of people like to use hot glue guns. I didn't bring one, but if you have a surface and you want to put something down that like it's sticking up and you want to put something down, those work well. I don't work a lot with them. I have a bad luck a lot of times because I leave strings, and it's great for crafting, but I don't tend to use it when I'm using my artwork. The most important thing that I like to use, and people are going to say, they don't make them anymore. Find an old phone book. The reason why is because a phone book is a great way that you glue on this surface, and then you can just throw that extra piece of paper away. So how many times maybe you've glued somewhere and the glue stuck to the paper and then you're trying to move it. So what I do, and there goes my thumb, I'm going to take and I'm going to rip off this top piece. Maybe save this. I might use that for my collage, but I'm going to take this piece, and then this is the surface that I glue on. So basically, if I take my glue stick and I want to glue to the edge of a surface, so here's some cool paper here, right? So I have this piece of paper. I put it on top of the newsprint. Here's my glue stick, and I can go right to the edge of the surface. All right? So I've got that. It's right there. I don't have the glue all over the place. And then I'm just going to adhere it to my piece of paper. All right? So now I have this, and I don't have glue all over my table. I can take this piece of paper, fold it in half, maybe use it again, or move this over here. Maybe I use it for my collage. Who knows? But the idea behind it is that you're not wasting paper, and you can always recycle this afterwards. All right, so you're not using good paper. I think it's good paper, but it's not. But you can't find phone books anymore. So some of you still have them, I know, in a cabinet somewhere because you don't want to throw it away. But you know those big stacks? They're great. And what's really nice is the ink doesn't come off, right? So somebody will say, well, what about newsprint? Well, the ink comes off. The ink doesn't come off and it stays really well. All right, so I just glued this piece onto this piece of paper. And I still have a few edges sticking up. So here's a trick that I learned from my good friend Paul Regan, which is, he's awesome, he's an awesome guy. So I'm gonna take a piece of paper, all right, and the edge that is sticking up, instead of picking it up and sticking the glue stick on it, like right here, and trying to put it down and have it show up on the surface, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my glue stick, the back side of this, I'm going to put glue onto this piece of paper, lift up, push this down, and pull out. And it gets those little corners. So I'm sliding it underneath, pulling. So now those edges, this is great for wallpaper. Do you have any wallpaper at your house that's the little edges sticking up? Get a little piece of paper, put glue on the side, slide it underneath. You won't get glue on anything. So that works out really nice. It's really good. Okay? So that's really a fun technique and a fun thing to work with. So, all right. So we just talked about glue. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about glue in a second because when I demonstrate, I like to water down my white glue. It's almost like paper mache. If I take the white glue and I rub it on a surface, I can put things down and layer it, and the glue kind of creates this really cool, maybe a glossy surface, but it also really soaks it in. They do sell an acrylic polymer gloss that you could do a coat with that, or you could actually work. I find that the gloss sometimes bubbles, and it bubbles on the edges, and it doesn't do that. So it's working with that. Some of the other things that I like to work with. So I talked about the phone book. Usually a hard board or some type of a surface to put your work onto. Paper will curl up, especially if it's wet. So I found old pieces of mat board, or this is really cool because this is the back of a pad of paper. You know, and I love that brown surface that's there. So that's a really fun surface to be working with as well. So again, using some sort of a hard board. So tracing paper is terrific to use. I've got scrap papers. People were wondering, what am I doing with this big box of scrap? This is called Color Aid. So Color Aid is, if you're a designer, you know what I'm gonna do right now, but it is the most amazing paper in the world. It's a silk screen paper that comes in a box, and each piece of paper has its own number on the back of it, so that when you're working, if I go to the store and I want to get this color, I get Color Aid G Hue, or so I don't throw these away because I do a lot of collage. I don't know if you can see from the camera, but I've got all kinds of fun pieces. I've got pieces that I've got little pieces cut out. Oh, and then if you save these pieces for another day, I can use them on another project, right? So another artist friend of mine, Bridget, she does animal portraits, and she uses different types of Color Aid paper for her animal portraits, and she does cut paper, and she does a great job with those. Newsprint is always fun to work with. And then we've got, especially newsprint, if it's an article or you're doing a story about something, you can use that. It's really fun. I have weird, like, I don't know, shiny glossy paper with mirrors and stuff on it. It's kind of fun. And then the just plain black paper that I've worked with. So let me just talk a little bit more about taking whatever you have and creating and exploring. So that's why we're here, right? So what we're going to do. I think if I just think about an abstract piece to just get started, that might get you on a roll. I don't have anything in mind. I just want to put nice pieces of paper together. So if I start thinking about what I want to do, maybe I like one particular color. Maybe I want to make a gift card. So I have this and I have an envelope. So if I cover this surface with a collage that might have something that is attached to somebody else or somebody, some sort of a connection, maybe that's what you could do for one of your first little collages, just taking things. It's not just taking a bunch of stickers and sticking them down, it's finding things maybe that are meaningful. So this is going to be an abstraction. I am going to just put a few different colored pieces of paper down. I'm going to cover the surface. I have some natural pieces. Good friend of mine gave me this little piece. And this is a collage. There's words. There's like a little bird. Looks like leaves and hearts. All kinds of little things that someone gave to me as a gift about creativity. And that's exactly what it is. It's a collage. It's a mix of absolutely beautiful. There's wallpaper. Do you have wallpaper at home? Little pieces? How wonderful is that? Lace, all kinds of fun things. So I'm going to make a card. And it's going to be abstract. It's just going to have a bunch of different things. The other piece that I'm going to do, it will be, I'm going to pretend I went on a trip, and I'm going to take that trip and make a piece out of that. Okay? So this is going to be an abstraction. I'm going to pull a bunch of different things out that I want to use. I have my, what is this? I've got my phone book here. So, it's the end of the holidays. How many of you got holiday cards, right? Lots of them. So I'm going to take a bunch of cards and I'm going to cut them up and I'm going to put them together to make a really cool composition. So I'm going to take a couple of them. I don't want to do the ones with the faces. Let's do that. And we'll do this. Here's a cool lighthouse. So I have these pieces. Maybe this one. So I have these, and I'm going to just get rid of that back piece. Oh, isn't that pretty? Who gave me that? So I've got these. I think that's plenty. So, as I said, I could use my scissors, I can use whatever it is that I want to, but I am going to use my little Fiskars, my little thing, and I'm just going to cut some strips. So here it is. It's open. My fingers are behind. And I'm just going to cut. All right. I got those. There's words in these, but I think if I cut them small enough, they won't come out. Okay. So I have an arrangement here of different pieces. And one year I made a Christmas card. I always make my Christmas cards every year, but one year I made them and I took all my old cards and made new cards from the old cards that people sent me. So they were getting some pieces back from their own pieces. Oh, this is pretty. So I don't have anything in mind here. All I've done is arrange it. I have this piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, and I'm just going to take a little bit of this permanent tape that's here. Here it is. Listen for the sound. I'm going to put it on here. When you run it, and you run this on the, oops, it's not working. Come on, hello, hello. There it is. There it is. Hear it? It takes me a bit to get it going. So I just made one strip on one side. I forgot to rip off the paint. Oh, Heidi ho. All right, so that's okay. So now on this piece, I should just do it on another one so you can see it, but that's okay. No mistakes. So I've got this, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to take these pieces and I'm going to adhere them at the top. I'm going to alternate them to kind of create a fun design. And I'm just alternating. They don't make any sense. You know what I mean? Like, and I want that brown to come through a little bit. And this could be a thank you card. You know, I'm sending someone a thank you very much for sending me a card or sending me something. So I'm sending them something back. All right. So right now, I'll save these scraps for something. Who knows? You know what? I won't even throw them away. I'll keep them. So right now, I have a bunch of these pieces that are just attached at the top. Okay, so it's kind of pretty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue down so that these stick, and then I'm going to take my sharp edge and then cut the edges so that it's nice and smooth. I love this. This is really pretty. It's like a real pretty design. So here I go. I'm going to use my glue stick. It's a permanent glue stick. I'm going to take this. I don't have to do it on here because, well, actually I should. Make sure it's clean so I don't have that. I'm putting this here. And I forgot to tell you, I'm on it. The cutting surface that I have is a self-healing cutting board, which is really cool. So I'm just doing these strips, putting the glue down, glue down. And you know what? If you're going to do thank you cards, what a great little gift, you know? Send these out to people. There's rubber cement, which is another thing. I don't even... rubber cement is erasable and it can come off. There are some that you can... Here we go. Almost done. All right. So I have these all glued down. I'm going to take my clean sheet of paper and I'm going to cut with my Fisker. Where'd you go? Hello, Mr. Fisker. If I can't find it, I'm going to use my X-Acto knife. So I'm going to take this. I'll demonstrate the X-Acto knife. So right now I can see my straight edge. I have a straight edge ruler. I'm going to place this right on the edge. Keep my fingers, this is a metal ruler. Okay, so if you're trying to do this with a plastic ruler, it's not going to happen. I'm going to hold my X-Acto knife and press down with my left hand, or if it's the opposite. And I'm just going to pull with one straight. I'm not pressing too hard. And I'm going to pull all the way across. Nice and easy. So that it has a nice clean edge on that side. I could do the other side as well. Let's take this. What a nice card. Who am I going to send this to? So I'm going to take this and I'm just cutting a nice sharp edge. So it's nice and clean. Let this dry a little bit. Don't those look like birch trees? Isn't that pretty? So here's my envelope. Maybe I take one of those pieces. Well, I threw those out, but I saved one of these, and maybe I can put that on my envelope, you know, or put it down on the bottom and glue it. So when I put it in the mail, pretty, huh? That's nice. So this is abstraction, real simple collage, just taking holiday cards that you received and taking the holiday cards and creating something maybe to give back to somebody else so you can do something. I bought the set here, you know, from Michael's. They came with a card and they came with the envelope. And those are easy to come across. All right, so for our final project, look at this mess. I'm really not this messy, but final piece, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an not an abstraction, I'm going to create a travel piece. And the travel piece that I'm going to create, I'm going to pretend that I went to France. So in this sketchbook that I did, I went to the West Coast in 2019 with my students, and we sketched and we drew and we did a bunch of stuff. But one of the things we did is we cut up the maps and we cut things out and we put them onto the paper. So I'm going to pretend that I went to France. So in my little pile here, I've got a map of Paris. I've got my airline ticket. I've got a bunch of different things. I even have the paper that they put the postcards in. So I have all these different things. But I'm going to pull up a piece of music maybe, and music notes so that I can have that maybe in the background. And then I'm also going to go into it and add some colored paper, maybe cut out some little Eiffel Towers. So I'm going to take a big piece of paper. And again, I just wanted to point out the surface that I've been cutting on. It's self-healing, and it's a great investment if you're going to be cutting on anything. This one happens to rotate when I'm cutting so that I don't have to turn everything, but I just share that with all of you. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to put this to the side, and I am going to put together a vacation, right? So from my vacation, I have magazines that maybe I might find inside here, a picture of the, I don't know, maybe the ocean, or I might find some words that talk about, I don't know, coffee. Here's a cafe. And then maybe I'm going to find, let's find the florist. So I'm just looking for different things in the magazines that might work with my collage. Golf magazines, I tend to think, have lots of beautiful pictures of the sky, or they may have lots of trees and greenery. And you could spend more time doing this, obviously. And I'm going through this kind of quickly, just trying to find things and words that might mean something. Like right down here, it has the dates. Let's pretend I went to France in 2000. So here's my word number 2000. And so just like you would create a landscape or anything, you're going to work backwards forward. So whatever you have in the background, you can build up on top of. So you can do natural objects that goes as well. So maybe I have some greenery, and I have some leaves, and I have maybe berries or whatever. You can add these to your piece. I'm going to use a larger paintbrush that I'm going to put the glue, so I'm going to use some of this white glue, and I'm going to add it to my plate. And this dries clear, all right? So when you use this, you don't have to worry too much. The paintbrush, I'm just going to go over the surface. And again, remember the trick I taught you about taking the edge of it? If you don't get the edge of something, you can always put it down afterwards. So I'm going to start with my sky, and maybe I'm going to cut some of these pieces. I'm not going to keep it straight. I'm going to do like a mosaic. So here comes the fun part. So I'm going to just start putting pieces onto my paper. That might be the background. And I'm doing this, holding it up to you. Isn't that sun pretty? Oops, wrong way. So I think I'll just concentrate on this little part right here. So adding, I've got my sky. I'm going to add a little more glue. And you know what I can do? I can just go right on top of this. Get that glue right under the edge. Right? So maybe some other pieces. It's like mosaic right now. I'm just taking these pieces, covering right over. I'm going to leave my sky like that. And I went in the year 2000, so maybe I'm going to cut this. Cut out my 2000. I'm going to add that to my piece. Didn't I say something about music notes? Maybe I found a nice sheet of music that I might want to add some different types of. If you don't want to use some of the books that you have, maybe you make copies of them. So I'm just gonna cut my surface to make mountains. I saw the mountains in France. So again, I can always go back over this. Some people use tweezers or something to move things around or press them down. Like right now I want to pick this up a little bit. I know it's still wet. So I'm just going to move this over a little bit. There we go. That's not very pretty. It doesn't have to make sense. You know, it's just a piece that I'm putting together. So I've just done that. So now I'm going to pull out some of the things that were important to me, like this map. It's in English, it says. It's Paris. So maybe I'm going to take this little map of Paris, the center. I want to put this whole sheet in there. Take this whole map. Add that to my piece. Oh, I just thought of a student who did this for me. We went to England, and she actually put together a collage with the same things. She did I just thought of it. Oh, I'm just thinking of all the different things that she did, and she put photos of me in there with her. This is a receipt. I'm going to add that to my piece. I didn't cut this out because I kind of like it the way that it is. There's a bus ticket somewhere. Let's take, here's my bag tag. Air France. So as I'm putting this together, look at it, I mean, seriously, I'm not even halfway done, and I could just keep going and going and going and going and adding more and adding more. And the glue, if I'm adding to this on top of it, it's going to keep the pieces down. And I'm going to keep going. Now, some people like to go crazy and they like to add glitter and they like to add other things to it, but I think on my part, I think I might want to put a piece of pine tree maybe. I don't know why I'm putting it there, but I like it. know, maybe I stole a piece of sand or something from. And what is a composition? A composition is an arrangement of colors, shapes, objects, things. Oh, I need a picture of an airplane going across on the outside. So people are going, what the heck is that? This is lint from your dryer. There's a woman who does collage art with lint. Every time she does like a red load or a blue load or whatever the colors are, she saves her lint and she makes beautiful landscapes. I'm not putting this on my piece, but that's why I brought it. Because you know what? You could use cotton balls, you can use all kinds of things, but that's what she was working with her piece. All right, so I'm doing this. I've got couple other things that oh, look at that train ticket to kind of end or do something else. Peragord. Oh, I love this. And I might do this a little bit. Well, what a nice gift to give to somebody, you know, like you go to a wedding or you go to somebody's house or you spend a vacation somewhere and just bits and pieces abstractly put down and then glued down creates a fun 2000. That was a long time ago. So we've got all kinds of fun things that we can start to do with this. The final part is like words. We talked about words. You can put other words and items down. And for me, if I wanted to create objects, so if I wanted to make an Eiffel Tower, I'm going to cut out an abstract Eiffel Tower. And put that onto my piece. Does anybody know the artist Matisse? Matisse, he did paper collage. And he would do abstract flowers and plants and people and shapes. Here's my abstract. It looks like the letter A. Alvin! But I've just put my Eiffel Tower down. I'm going to crop it probably like this and cut it into a neat shape. Maybe we can end with a leaf. No, I'm just kidding. So what I want to say, oh, I gotta put that ticket on. No, I'm done. So I'm not done. I won't be done. I could put photographs. I could put pictures of myself on there. I can put my friends. I can do whatever I want. This is a collage. It's an abstract landscape. And you saw that the card that I created, again, simple collage technique, really easy to use. None of these things cost a lot of money. You might want to get some Elmer's glue. So what I want to say is do try it. Do try collage. Do come up with something really cool and share it with me, right? We're here on YouTube. BCAM is on YouTube. You can put it in the comments. Maybe I'll react and I'll send you a little note. Send me some pictures. Show me what you've been making. All right? Sounds great. So I want to thank the Braintree Community Arts Center. I want to thank BCAM. I want to make sure all of you for watching because this is kind of cool, right? I hope you're creating and share it with your friends. All right? So this is Heidi signing off saying thank you so much for watching how to make a cool collage, right? And have some fun. So until next time, we'll see you later. Thanks a lot.